Hello everyone, it's Maki. Do you like Cerberus? It's a terrifying creature also known as the guardian dog of hell. It's a monstrous wolf with 3 heads. The name has also been given to one of the weapons of the Brass Impulse Gundam. This time, I'd like to introduce you to the other Cerberus. Here it is, the Cerberus BuCUE HOUND. This mobile suit appeared in the anime seed STARGAZER. At first glance, it might look like just an updated version of the BuCUE. However, when you examine the details, you'll discover something new. Now, let's explore the charm of the BuCUE, which has inherited the power of the guardian dog of hell. Before we begin our analysis, I have a quick announcement. On my channel, I'm inviting support through memberships. For just 99 cents a month, you can get a name badge and comment stamps. Alright, then let's begin the analysis. The Cerberus BuCUE HOUND is a BuCUE HOUND equipped with the Cerberus Wizard. First, let's review how the BuCUE HOUND was originally designed. It played an active role in the war between the Earth Alliance and that that broke out in Cosmic Era 70. Its 4-legged, beast-like movement and high-speed mobility enabled combat behavior completely different from that of existing weapons. It destroyed many of the Earth Alliance's weapons and became a major factor in expanding the sphere of influence on Earth. However, as mobile suit technology advanced, the BuCUE gradually became outdated. During the war, Zaft adapted to the changing battlefield by equipping the BuCUE with beam sabers, using data gained from the GATX series. Nevertheless, compared to other evolving weapons, the BuCUE remained an older model. Another important point is the Junius Treaty. This international treaty included a clause placing an upper limit on the number of mobile suits each nation could possess based on its size. In response, Zaft chose to strengthen and remodel the BuCUE with the latest technology. This method of evolution is similar to how the gem in the Universal Century series was modified into the Gem 2 and then further modified into the Gem 3. The Gem series also evolved by modifying existing weapons rather than creating new designs. The reason why Zaft chose to remodel the BuCUE instead of developing a new quad-to-payload mobile suit remains unknown. No source materials mention the reasoning. Some fans may wonder if they could develop new mobile suits like the Zoku and Golf. Why did they only make the BuCUE a modified version instead of a new one? Please note that the following includes my own speculation. As in the real world, designing and producing weapons requires a lot of money. Perhaps Zaft wanted to focus its budget on developing the new Millennium series of mobile suits while keeping the cost of quad-to-payload mobile suits as low as possible. In that case, it's not so strange that they developed new mobile suits like the Zoku and Golf but only remodeled the BuCUE. Thus, the BuCUE HOUND was born. Its most distinctive feature lies in its back components. The original BuCUE's artillery turret mounting unit was replaced with a Wizard system-compatible attachment. This allowed it to use the same standard equipment as the new Millennium series, which reduced the workload for maintenance and supply staff. It also offered the advantage of flexible armament changes. However, in STARGAZER, only the BuCUE HOUND equipped with the Cerberus Wizard was featured. In spin-offs, we've also seen a BuCUE HOUND equipped with the Brace Wizard. It's unclear whether it can use other wizards, or if it's even possible to equip them. It may have been designed to use a variety of armament flexibly, similar to the Earth Alliance's Skygrasper. After all, It would be strange to claim greatly expanded weapon versatility if only 2 types of armaments could be used. That said, the phrase greatly expanded weapon versatility comes from the settings described in the high-grade Gunpla. Settings created through Gunpla are sometimes revised later to match the anime. If the BuCUE HOUND is featured in new anime works, we may see it fighting with a wider variety of wizards. The BuCUE HOUND has achieved an extremely remarkable performance improvement. While it may seem like a subtle detail that goes unnoticed, its head design clearly reflects this enhancement. This head is equipped with 5 beam sabers. 1 extends forward like a spear. 2 more are mounted on the sides of the head like horns. 2 more are positioned downward like fangs. Now, let's examine the settings regarding beam sabers in the cosmic era world. When they were first put into practical use, beam sabers were known as weapons with extremely poor energy efficiency. Logero, the protagonist of the Astray series, mentioned that while they are powerful, they consume far too much energy. Therefore, the BuCUE HOUND's ability to use 5 beam sabers at once makes it very heavily armed. Since we are used to seeing the flashy weapons of the main Gundams, the BuCUE HOUND's head might not seem impressive at first. However, this improvement is a remarkable evolution. According to the Mobile Suit Encyclopedia reference material, the head is described as the state where the head included with the KERBEROS Wizard replacement set is equipped. This means the head capable of using 5 beam sabers is standard equipment for the KERBEROS Wizard. However, the state with the original BuCUE head has yet to appear. Now, let's take a closer look at the KERBEROS Wizard. This wizard has 2 neck units, and each head is armed with 2 beam sabers and a beam cannon. Remember what we talked about earlier regarding beam sabers. These necks are also extremely heavily armed compared to conventional mobile suits. The beam cannons are controlled through spotting sensors built into each head. Additionally, the necks are designed with multi-joint structures that give them tremendous freedom of movement for aiming. However, since these beam cannons were designed for close-range combat, their range is limited. In exchange, they have enhanced rapid-fire ability, giving them excellent suppression capability at short distances. The 2 beam sabers can freely adjust their angle in sync with the next movements. This feature provides the unit with outstanding responsiveness against approaching enemies. Additionally, the beam sabers can be detached and wielded directly by a mobile suit's hands. Unfortunately, the anime never showed them being used. When Azaku equips the KERBEROS Wizard, it seems that these beam sabers come into action. Alternatively, it may be possible to provide them as a supply weapon to allies. The KERBEROS Wizard is equipped with additional thrusters that allow it to run at higher speeds than the original BuCUE. The true power of the KERBEROS Wizard becomes clearer when compared to the logo settings. The logo required 2 pilots, one to drive and the other to operate the weapons. Even for coordinators, controlling movement and shooting simultaneously was difficult. In fact, Ace pilot Andrew Waltfeld needed a gunner to operate the logo alongside him. However, the KERBEROS BuCUE HOUND does not require 2 pilots. Advanced software has been developed that enables a single pilot to manage these complex weapons. At first glance, the KERBEROS BuCUE HOUND may look unimpressive, but digging into its detailed settings reveals that it's a BuCUE that has evolved into an extremely powerful machine. So, how did it perform in the story? for many fans, its most memorable appearance was in STARGAZER. The scene in which he defeats the BuCUE Gundam left viewers frightened. Let's take a closer look at that scene. Three Cerberus BuCUE Hounds attack the BuCUE Gundam. At first, this action seems meaningless. Stopping on the battlefield is extremely dangerous. So why did they choose such an approach? No detailed explanation is given. The interpretation is left up to each viewer. Here, I'd like to share my own interpretation. Please take it as just one possible opinion. The BuCUE Gundam was a powerful Gundam owned by Phantom Pain. Since the anime was short, we didn't see much of it in action. However, based on Mudi's words and the behavior of her team, it's clear that the BuCUE Gundam defeated many enemies on various battlefields. Even in STARGAZER's battle, many Zaft mobile suits were destroyed. Because the BuCUE Gundam was taken down so quickly, many viewers were left with the impression that its leg was easily destroyed by a BuCUE beam saber. But what if we interpret this as Zaft finally managed to immobilize it after suffering heavy losses? As the Lion's mobile suit pilots are mostly naturals. Their abilities are far lower than those of coordinators, so their basic tactics rely on multiple mobile suits working together against a single enemy. Yet, the BuCUE Gundam defeated many mobile suits piloted by coordinators on its own. To defeat such a powerful opponent, the Zaft pilots must have fought desperately. When the Cerberus BuCUE Hounds repeatedly stabbed the BuCUE Gundam with their beam sabers, it must have been a gruesome and terrifying scene. However, we could interpret this as their weapons didn't have the power to finish the Gundam in one strike, so they had no choice but to attack it repeatedly. Rather than an act of cruelty, the continuous attacks could be seen as frantic efforts to ensure the enemy was finally brought down. A similar moment occurs in the Universal Century Series Gundam Unicorn. In a scene where the pilot is supposed to disable the enemy with as few strikes as possible and capture the enemy pilot, an inexperienced pilot wastes time with repeated unnecessary attacks, causing the enemy pilot to panic. I interpreted this as the Cerberus BuCUE Hound pilots desperately attacking with low destructive weapons to ensure they could defeat the Gundam. Of course, please remember that this is only my personal interpretation. That said, when we look at other scenes in the Seed series, there are definitely moments when characters carry out meaningless acts of slaughter to satisfy their thirst for revenge. Therefore, it's possible that the Cerberus BuCUE Hound pilots chose this method of attack to instill fear in their enemies and enjoy it. Did I succeed in sharing the charm of the Cerberus BuCUE Hound with you? The name Cerberus sounds cool, doesn't it? The black body is a classic design choice that still makes a striking impression. It was also a huge surprise that a mass-production mobile suit was able to defeat a Gundam. By carefully examining the settings, we discovered that it wasn't just a minor update. I'd love to see the BuCUE Hound in action with other Wizard systems besides the Cerberus Wizard. We saw the BuCUE Hound with the BuCUE Wizard in a spin-off, but even then it had the Cerberus Wizard attachment instead of a head. I really hope that someday we'll get to see the BuCUE Hound with its standard head. Thank you so much for watching until the end. See you in the next episode.